While most of the world was unwrapping gifts and sitting around dinner tables, Donald Trump was making headlines in a way that sent shockwaves straight into the heart of Nigeria. He announced that the United States military had launched what he described as powerful and deadly airstrikes in the northwest of Nigeria, specifically in Sokoto State, targeting ISIS-affiliated militants known as Lakurawa. Trump framed the entire operation as a mission to protect Nigerian Christians, whom he had accused the Nigerian government of allowing to be slaughtered. He said, and I am paraphrasing closely here, that he had warned these terrorists that if they did not stop the killing of Christians, there would be consequences, and Christmas Day was that day of consequences. Now, Nigerians across the country were stunned. Think about what it means for a foreign military power to launch strikes inside your borders. Yes, the Nigerian government, President Bola Tinubu's administration, had quietly given the green light. Foreign Minister Yusuf Tuga confirmed he spoke with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio twice before and after the strike, and that Tinubu personally authorized it. But that did not stop the uproar. Prominent voices across Nigeria, from Islamic scholars to ethnic organizations to opposition politicians, came out strongly. The Supreme Council for Sharia in Nigeria said Trump's framing of the crisis reflected a deeply one-sided narrative that ignored the complex realities of violence in Nigeria, a violence that has claimed lives of both Christians and Muslims alike. A prominent Kano-based Islamic cleric, Sheikh Ahmed Gumi, went so far as to call on the federal government to summon the American ambassador and demand a retraction. He said if Washington would not comply, Nigeria should sever diplomatic ties entirely. The pan-Yoruba group Afenifere said flat out, no foreign power has the right to invade a sovereign nation, whatever the reason. And here is the critical thing that Trump seemed to either not fully understand or not care about. The community actually affected by the Sokoto strikes was overwhelmingly Muslim, not Christian. Security analysts noted this clearly. The Lakurawa group operated in Muslim-majority communities. The evangelical Christian persecution narrative that Trump used as the justification for the strikes was geographically and factually inconsistent with where those strikes actually landed. Nigeria's government itself has consistently maintained that terrorism in the country does not discriminate by religion, that it kills Nigerians of all faiths, and that the fight against armed groups is a Nigerian fight, not a religious crusade on behalf of one denomination. But the Nigeria-America tension, as dramatic as it was, is only one layer of this story, because meanwhile, something far bigger and far more volatile was unfolding in the Middle East, and it would bring that tension right back to the streets of Nigeria in a way that nobody expected. Fast forward to the 28th of February 2026, United States and Israeli forces launched strikes that killed Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Let that sink in. The Supreme Leader of Iran, the man who had led the Islamic Republic for decades, the spiritual and political anchor of Shia Islam worldwide, was killed in a military operation. The world erupted. The Middle East was thrown into a new and terrifying phase of conflict. Iran fired back. The Strait of Hormuz was threatened. Oil markets shook. And in Nigeria, within hours of that news, something significant began to move. The Islamic Movement of Nigeria, widely known as the IMN, and also referred to as the Nigerian Shiites, is not a small or obscure organization. It was founded in 1978 by Sheikh Ibrahim el-Zakzaki, directly modeled on the principles of Iran's Islamic Revolution. It has an estimated 4 million followers with branches in nearly 35 of Nigeria's 36 states. Its members are deeply connected to Iran, ideologically, spiritually, and organizationally. So when their spiritual godfather, the Iranian Supreme Leader, was killed by a US-Israeli military operation, the IMN did not stay quiet. Members took to the streets across Lagos, Abuja, Kano, Sokoto, Gombe, Kaduna, Bauchi, Yobe, Katsina, and Taraba. They waved Iranian flags, carried portraits of Khamenei, and held placards condemning the United States and Israel. This was not a small gathering of a few angry individuals. This was a coordinated national outpouring of grief and defiance. And then came the 13th of March 2026, International Quds Day. For those who may not know, Quds Day is observed annually on the last Friday of Ramadan. It was instituted by Ayatollah Khamenei in 1979 as a day of global solidarity with the Palestinian people and opposition to Israel's presence in Jerusalem. In Nigeria, the IMN has been observing it for over 40 years. But this year, Quds Day 2026 was no ordinary observance. It arrived right in the middle of an active US-Iran war. It arrived just weeks after Khamenei had been killed. And it arrived at a time when the United States Embassy in Abuja had already issued a formal security alert warning American citizens to stay indoors on that Friday, citing the IMN's announced plans to march and the historical pattern of these demonstrations turning violent. Despite a heavy deployment of Nigerian security forces across the Federal Capital Territory, despite road closures and vehicle checkpoints along the Nyanya-Maraba axis, despite the fact that the IMN has been officially proscribed as a terrorist organization in Nigeria since 2019, the marchers came out anyway. Scores of pro-Iran